So my guest today, joining me on the Anfield Lap, as it were, is Stephen Warnock. Now, younger viewers might not know a lot about Stephen. After all, he only played 67 times for Liverpool Football Club. But some really interesting points that I want to pick his brain on. For a start, he made his competitive debut in the same Champions League competition that ended up with Liverpool lifting it for the 5th time in Istanbul. He worked under Rafa Benitez. He came in as a young lad, came back from 3 leg breaks before making his professional debut. He's played up and down the pyramid, got some fantastic experiences, and went with Fabio Capello's England to the 2010 World Cup. So yeah, fascinated to get a measure of the man, get a measure of experiences, and just have a bit of a chat. So, Stephen Warnock, welcome to the place where you made your name as a footballer. I shouldn't really be welcoming you, really. It should probably be the other way around. We've picked a nice day for it. Just want to kind of kick things off, I guess. You know, take us back to the start. I mean, were you a Liverpool fan growing up?
Yeah, I was. I stood on the Kop when it was obviously the standing Kop, and
It's when we start to show our age, when we get to say
I know,
stories
yeah,
like that, isn't
yeah.
it?
But obviously, they're the times that I remember as growing up as a kid, and probably my first memories were of United losing the league on Merseyside, and
of course,
the famous song, sort of, you lost the league on Merseyside and always look on the bright side of life and things like that. So I just think when I was younger, growing up, my brother and my dad were Everton fans.
Oh really?
And I got given the opportunity to come here and watch a game, and just fell in love with it straight away.
So did you being at Liverpool change how your family saw Liverpool?
Well, my dad's he's not a staunch Evertonian, but my granddad was a massive Liverpool fan, and I knew what it meant to be a fan of the club and things like that. So yeah, they understood it. Once you go in and they accept that you're playing at the club, I think, as any parent would, you have the one thing in mind, and that's your sons or daughters in best intentions.
Yeah. So is it true that you were at an Alan Kennedy soccer school?
Yeah.
And he spotted you, as it were?
Yeah, he did, and I think it was one of them soccer schools where you just get pushed off and see you for a week and get out the house in the summer.
I was an Alan A court one I used to go to back in the day.
Yeah. And I did well at it. I think you had sort of 5 stars that you had to try and get, and it all went well, and I got the 5 stars. I think I was the only one to, and I think they just saw something then that they liked. And I got picked up by Everton first, and Everton offered me a trial, and I was like, yeah, fine, because it was an opportunity to get in.
Yeah.
And the week later we played Liverpool, played against them, played really well. Got offered a trial in McDonald's on the way home in Aintree. Hugh and Macaulay came in and said, well, we tried to catch you after the game and really liked you and want you to come down and have a trial.
To be fair, when you think about going on and becoming a fullback for Liverpool, having someone like Alan Kennedy putting a word in for you,
yeah,
pretty decent reference, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad at all, is it? I mean, he's a legend at the club of what he's done, but I wasn't a fullback then. I was a centre midfielder or a winger. That's where I played up until I was sort of, what would I be now? 19, 20.
Really?
Yeah.
To be fair, we always felt watching you. I mean, it was Jamie Carragher made a bit of a joke about it, how fullbacks are always failed wingers, didn't he? But you know, I remember thinking at the time, watching you coming up, that you see a lot of left backs who can be a bit agricultural. Well, not left backs, but full backs in general can be at times. Whereas it always felt like you were decent with the ball. We always wondered.
Well, you're the first one who's ever said that. Thanks for that. Yeah. Interview over.
Yeah. So there you go. On from that.
Yeah, no, it was one of them where I started in midfield, but then when I broke my leg, Steve Highway said, I want to take you out of the sort of the firing line, if you like, and going in for tackles and things like that. And then I slowly got back into playing centre mid, left midfield, and I actually broke through into the first team at Liverpool as a left midfielder. The game against Burnley was the game where everything changed. The famous Jimmy Traore own goal, and I was playing left midfield in the game. He took Jimmy off, put me left back, and I played well for the half an hour that we were there. And he just said, have you ever played there? And I was, no, I never played there. And he just said, I think it suits you. And then that was that then. I never played left midfield again.
You can see almost, I guess, with Trent Alexander-Arnold at the moment, you know, getting his game at right back. Were you just of the mindset of, like, you know, you probably dreamt of being more John Barnes than you know what I mean? I guess like,
well, that was my idol growing up. I was the one I always looked to when I was growing up. My auntie bought me a John Barnes story video, like on.
Can't remember the John Barnes
yeah,
story.
and where he had to try and hit a tree stump from miles away and things like that. But my auntie queued up, got the signature and everything, and I think it was in W.H. Smith's in town or something. And I've still got it now. You aspire to be like people like that, but I think you've got to know what level you're at and where you're at, and say, well, that's not possible. Like you talk about there, like your Stevie G's, your Wayne Rooney's. These are players that are born to be top level players. Yeah. You have to understand where you're going to play in that team and how many games you can play within that position. If I'd have been a centre midfielder and tried to get in front of Stevie G, I'd have never played at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people have to realise. I was fortunate that I had the right people around me saying to me, no, you're not going to play in that position. Take that opportunity to play there and it'll work for you.
How did you take that initially, or did you?
I didn't. I just accepted it because I was playing.
Yeah.
And I think that was the difference. The only time I got the different feel for it was when I was at I was leaving Liverpool, and I was playing every 1 in 3, every 1 in 4, if you like. And I phoned Steve Highway and I just said to him, "What do you think? I've got the opportunity to go to Blackburn," and he just turned around and he said, "Listen, you're a footballer." He said, at the end of the day, do you want to turn around at the end of your career and say, you've played 150 league games here or 150 career games at Liverpool? Or do you want to turn around, as I can now, and say, I've played over 500 games at Liverpool in my career? Because you're a footballer, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
we're actually outside the Kop now. Your one and only Liverpool goal came at the Kop end.
I've got one. Scored one. I mean, everyone always says that, but what's it like and how do you feel to do it? At least I can say I've done it.
Yeah.
It was a bobbler.
It wasn't the cleanest.
It was horrible. But I celebrated it like it was a winning goal at Wembley. You know what I mean? No, it was one of them. Like, again, you dream of playing here, and then your next dream is to score a goal, and to score was just amazing. I think the photos are seen after it where Stevie G runs over. He knows what it meant. He knows what it meant to him to score that goal, so he knows what the feeling was for me as well, and the pair of us were over the moon. Obviously I was a little bit more ecstatic than him,
I'd imagine so. Not how you would have dreamt it, but my God.
No, it doesn't matter. You still get the same feeling, the same response from the Kop and things like that, and that's all that mattered to me.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, we shall carry on. Let's go back again then to the start of your career, and you made your debut in the Champions League, is that right?
Yeah, against Grazza. Yeah.
I mean, that Grazza game was the first step.
Oh yeah, of course,
the most famous Liverpool season in history, really.
Yeah.
And people do forget those games to some extent because
I don't.
Well, no, I'd imagine not. You actually came on as a sub for Stevie in the first leg.
Yeah, away from home. Yeah. So it was one of them where you're praying that you're going to have a good pre-season leading up to coming into the season. The pre-season went well, and then suddenly you're getting the opportunity to go into the Champions League, getting involved in the squad, and for me that was huge. And I remember sitting on the bench, and it was like myself, Darren Potter, and you don't think you're going to get on, but when you do, and especially to come on for him, and then to go on the run we went on after that was just incredible. And
you actually came on in the second leg at Anfield as well, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just to be involved. And I mean, when you're coming through, I've been on loan at Bradford, been on loan at Coventry, and then suddenly you go, right, you're going to be playing Champions League football now. To be honest, it was a pressure that I wasn't used to, but I didn't know any different at that point. I just thought, oh great, we'll just get on with it and enjoy the ride. And obviously the ride that season was incredible.
I mean, let's talk about it. It's probably not something you look back on too fondly, I guess, but you had horrendous luck with injuries in those early stages. Was it three times, 2 and a bit times you broke your leg?
Yeah, 3 times, and I think when you get to that stage as well, and you're thinking like you're never going to play again, or you're never going to play at the level that you'd hoped you'd play at.
Because you broke it the first time. You'd have been a teenager.
It was my first game out of school. It was the first year of me YTS, as it was, scholarship or whatever they called it then.
We were playing top.
Yeah. But they changed it from YTS to something else.
Yeah.
It was but yeah, we were playing Tottenham away, and suddenly you're lying in a hospital bed thinking, where do you go from here, and how does it work, and what happens? Because I've never had an injury before.
Yeah.
And then Steve Highway was just brilliant with me, and the staff at Liverpool, and got right behind me, looked after me, got myself back fit, and then 3 games later I broke my leg at Leeds, coming back, which was sort of, must have been about 10 or 11 months after, and you're thinking, I'd agreed to sign a 3-year contract, a professional contract,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, that's gone.
Yeah.
Got told I probably wouldn't play football again by the surgeon. Did his operation. When I woke up the next morning, Steve Highway and Rick Parry were there. Here's your contract, let's get it signed. Wow. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's incredible.
Is that one of those moments where you look back at your career and you think, if Liverpool don't do that, you might, do you have what it takes to drag yourself back up again, or does that help you drag yourself back up again, or whatever?
A bit of both. I think you've got to look at it in both ways. You've got to think, well, to be a footballer and to make it as a professional, you've got to have something within you anyway that is more of a drive than other people have got, because there's plenty of talented footballers out there. There was more talented players in my age group when I was growing up, yeah, but they didn't make it because they didn't have the mentality that I had. And you can't instill that in someone. You can't just say, listen, you need to work harder and you need to do this, this and this. It's got to come from within you. And I think when you've got that, it's the support network around it that's created by Liverpool that obviously helps massively. And not even just that, it was the shape that the shape of the person that they try and mould you into. It's not just it's a character build, and it's to set you up for future jobs and future walks of life, and to make you better people. And I think that's what people don't give them credit for. Yeah,
it's funny because you're known for, it was mentioned about you in training as well, that you're like a tackle. You're a committed lad, shall we say, on the training ground and on the pitch.
Yeah. I think that just come from working with senior players and seeing the attitude of them. I was fortunate enough that Gary McAllister was at the club at the time, come in at sort of 36, 37, and you see the way he trained and you're thinking, this guy's still 37 and he's training like it's his last training session, it's a game and things like that. And then you had Cara, Stevie, Marcus Babbel, and you've got these players who train every single day like their life depends on it. And it's one thing that I always thought I needed to try and take into my own sort of preparation for games, training and things like that. And luckily it's served me well enough.
It probably tells the club, if you're able to maintain that mentality, having come back from the injuries that you've come back as well, it's probably the kind of thing that sends a great message as well to the coaches and the management team.
Yeah, but you only get one crack at it, don't you? So that was always the thing in the back of my mind, was you get one crack at having a go at this, making it as a professional. And there was lads getting released in and around you, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be one of them. Yeah. And that was my game. So it took me a long time to recover confidence to go into tackles again. And the lads were brilliant with me. They used to sort of back off, and I had to tell them in the end, listen, I want someone to smash me, really, because it's the only way I'll get it in my head that I can take a tackle and then I can give one back out. And that took probably 6 months or so to get that back in my head and to build that confidence again. And I think once I got over that, the rest was history then, and you get comfortable again.
I guess, obviously the leg break's probably the ultimate lowest part of your career, but we have to talk a little bit about the moment that season, 04-05, goes down as being, as you say, the most famous probably in Liverpool's history. It ends up being a bit of a bittersweet season for you to some respect, because that team, we'll start with the League Cup. I remember watching that as a fan, and thought it was amazing the way that Rafferty approached that campaign. We effectively put the kids out in that tournament. Came close a couple of times, we scraped through against Spurs, but what a game it ends up being. But then we get to the final, and then it's all of those lads go out. The first team comes back in.
It happened in the Watford game in the semi-final as well. There was a bit of rotation, and a lot of the lads who played were all on the bench, which was fine. Because we understood, like, you're Liverpool Football Club, and you need to win silverware. Fans demand it. You're getting to a semi-final and you're playing Watford. Without being disrespectful to Watford, you expect Liverpool to beat Watford and to progress further. But it was disappointing, because we were told that would be our game time, our opportunity to impress and to show what we could do, and you do that to a certain degree. But then all of a sudden, come the semi-final and the final, you're not involved. It was tough to take. But imagine turning up to, I think it was Cardiff at the time. You turn up to Cardiff and you've got a reserve team out. fans are going to go mental.
How did you get on with Rafa? Because I know we've had a very brief chat about this in the past, and I think my impression was that, you know, you fall into a familiar camp. And when I speak to ex-Liverpool players who were there around that time, is that I'm not sure his management style particularly suited you.
Yeah.
He's not known for being the warmest of characters, I think, with a lot of footballers. Is that something that you?
I think Rafa's just obsessed with football.
Yeah.
I think when he came in, you respected what he'd done at Valencia, and you understood that he had a great mentality. The Valencia team that he had at that time was a top draw team, and deservedly winning things out in Spain. But when he came into the club, I think people had his respect straight away. They understood that he was a good tactician, but he couldn't hold a conversation about anything else other than football. But he was just studying games all the time and who we were playing. And the thing was, his attention to detail going into games was incredible, and you can't knock him for that. But then there was no feeling. He didn't know how to talk to people. Yeah. But I've seen him since, and when did we play now? When I was at Wigan, we played Newcastle away. And he came over, gave me a big hug and things, and I thought, wow,
where was this?
Where's this come from, and where was that before? And so I think managers learn, don't they? And they see other managers and how they get certain things out of players, and whether he's progressed in that way, you'd have to wait and see. But the Newcastle players that I've seen and spoke to since he's gone in there say he's the reason they are where they are, and they respect him massively. So. Everyone has their own style, I suppose. Is
it easy for you to? Do you ever have you gone back and watched the stuff from that season? Because again, you know, Istanbul is another one where, as a Liverpool fan, it's got to be one of the greatest experiences ever. But as a footballer, it's another one where you must have been thinking, come on, I should have been on that. I could have been involved. Should have been involved.
Yeah, well, I was involved. I got the phone call to say I was in the squad, and I came in the change room after, and squad list was up, and I was in the 18 that was travelling, and that's all he used to put in. He never used to put any extra players in. It was the 18, and that was the team and the bench, and that was it. So when I saw my name on that, I thought, fantastic, like, made the squad for the Champions League final. And it sounds silly, but even at that point I was thinking, I'm guaranteed a medal either way, whether it's a loser's medal or a winner's medal, and there's not many people in the career who've got them. So from being on loan at Coventry the year before and to be suddenly thrust into that, thought amazing. So dived in my car, was ringing everyone, telling everyone, couldn't believe it. And about 3 hours later, get a phone call off Paco Ayastaran, who just said, listen, we made this mistake on the squad list, and you're not in, Hosemi's in, and whatever. And it was disappointing, and it goes again to Rafa about his relationship and how he spoke to people. I'd expect a phone call from the manager there to say, listen, I've made the mistake, or whoever has, and I take the blunt of it, you're the manager. And I thought that was poor, but at the end of it, I can't do anything about it now.
Yeah.
The night was difficult to watch the game, because you feel like you could have been involved, and I'm not saying I would have come on the pitch and made a difference or anything like that, but to be front row seat and be part of that and be in the changing room and things like that would have been amazing. And I think the difficult thing as well was after the game, all the players and the wives were on one plane, went home. We were put on another plane, the plane got delayed, we didn't make the bus stops tour and things like that. And that was all things where everything Rafa ever spoke about was a squad and being a squad. And I think that was the one thing that not only hurt me, it was Cinema Pongol, who played a vital part in the Olympiacos game, Neil Mellor. And there was other players who were involved who'd had game time within that campaign that deserved a little bit more than... So I watched it on Sky Sports News. I watched the tour, and I just remember thinking, like, either I should be on that bus or we should have been involved in some way. And that was disappointing, and to be honest, that was the end of my Liverpool career in my head. And that was time to move on.
It's interesting because, again, we talk about these moments happen in careers sometimes, and if that ends up being the thing that kicks you on, like you say, you had that mentality then to go, well, I'm just going to go and play as many senior games of football as I possibly can. And it's interesting because you've actually gone on and played for some of the most historic football clubs in the country in some regards. You know, people, maybe Blackburn, maybe not right up there in terms of size, still Premier League with us. You were Derby, Leeds. You know, these are some of the teams that Aston Villa, European Cup winning club, and ultimately, you go on to be part of the England squad in World Cup 2010. I mean, you don't get on the pitch, but that's as far as experiences go.
Oh, it was
that's
amazing.
Something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate, and that decision was the right decision to leave Liverpool at the time, because it gave me the opportunity to go and play regular first team, and suddenly my game elevated, and you start getting people watching you a little bit more closely. And I made the England squad when I was at Liverpool as well, but I kept on getting left out of them because Sven was saying, you're not playing enough, you're not playing, you need to play. And that was in the back of my mind as well, because I thought, well, if I broke through and I'm not playing that often, if I can get game time, then I'm going to play more.
Yeah.
And I think that was it, really. The opportunity to play just gave me that time to play, or give me the opportunity to get in the England squad.
So what was it like then? Because I think that's the tournament where Carra comes back out of international retirement to go. You've got Stevie there. There's the Liverpool contingent, of course, who you'll know really well. What was the atmosphere like going in that camp? Because what was Capello like as a manager?
He was similar to Rafa, brilliant tactically and things like that, and you knew going into a game what was expected. It was tough round the camp, as in there wasn't anything to do where we were based in South Africa. It was very remote. You couldn't walk out and just jump into a coffee shop or go to pitches or go around the city. You literally were confined to that. It's like an army camp, if you like, an army base where you weren't allowed out of it. Because of the area we were in, it was quite rough, and we didn't know what to expect if we went out. And it was tough, but I've always said, for me it was an experience that not many people get to experience. So I enjoyed it, because I've never been back to a World Cup since as a player, or a Euros or anything like that. I knew that one chance was probably my only chance to go to a World Cup, and I was going to enjoy every minute of it. There's players there who don't, who probably think they deserve to play and have been away a fair few times before, but for me that was the first, and I was going to enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, I guess there's a degree to which you're going, you're thinking, great, I'm here to take this opportunity, and then you look and you got Ashley Cole as the first choice left back, and you're thinking, well, it's probably going to take a major injury for me to get in.
I knew that as well, and that was the thing. I remember being on we were on the plane going. There was a plane of me, Stevie Carra and Wayne Rooney going to London. And we were on the plane, and we just sat there, and Carra just turned around and went, if we win this, we come home legends. He said, doesn't matter whether you play or you don't play. And I remember sitting there thinking, bloody hell, he's right there. And I just remember thinking from that point, if I go over here and I train as hard as I can and contribute to the squad, being that type of player, then so be it. If we win it, then you can go back as a legend and be part of it. I thought, your name's written in history for the rest of your life. So that was my attitude towards it. And yeah, there was things that went on at within the camp at the time, where there was sort of people, like I said earlier, people who thought they should have been playing and things like that. But I knew I wasn't going to play. Yeah. Ashley Cole was the best left back in the world for arguably 10 years. Yeah. To be his understudy, I'm proud of that. It sounds daft, but yeah. I am. A person who didn't start off as being a left back has gone through a World Cup being the understudy for the best left back in history, or in world football for 10 years. It's not bad.
Pretty decently.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. One random question I have to ask you, just moving at a slight tangent from footy. I asked this of everyone who's ever played footy, and you're around my age, so did you ever either create yourself or make yourself better in a football game growing up?
Never.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't really play them, to be honest. I played Pro Evolution Soccer, and then he changed it, and I just went, oh, it's rubbish. And I just hated it then. And then he went to FIFA, and I weren't a FIFA fan. And I actually just got rid of my computer then. I used to play Championship Manager more than anything, but you can change yourself on that. So. But no, I've never been a FIFA fan. And we got given them when we went to the World Cup. We got FIFA, Pro Evolution Soccer. I just used to play Call of Duty. So sorry to disappoint you there.
No. It's funny. It's interesting. You'd be surprised how many people are like, yeah, made myself the best player the world's ever seen. Yeah. Obviously must have been happy with your role.
Yeah, well, I just didn't know it. People used to text me and say, oh, you're this and this. I was like, I couldn't care less. It just never bothered me. So, not one of my things, that.
Amazing. So, just the last couple of things then. Earliest memories then of coming to Anfield?
I remember Liverpool played Genoa in a European game.
How was that game?
And we got beat. And I remember Liverpool fans singing Genoa. And it stuck in my mind. And I turned round to John, who used to take me to the game. I said, John, why are they singing that? And he went, because they've beaten us. And we have to show respect to them and things like that. And I thought it was incredible. And that always just stuck in my mind. I don't know why. It was just one of them things. But I've been to some great games and stood on the cop and things like that, but that just stood out for me for some reason. I can't put my finger on why.
It's mad, isn't it? I always got a sense, like, I was always walking to Anfield as a kid, because we used to park behind the cop in the old streets that are now just not there anymore. Like, and we walked down with my dad, and you'd feel like the hubbub as you got closer and closer. Like the hair standing up on the back of your neck.
I used to stand there on the corner where the pillars are, and I used to wait for the bus to come in. And every day we'd wait for the buses to come in, or every home game, and wait for the buses to come down, and sort of, I don't know what it was, but John liked doing it, so it was something that I suddenly liked doing then, and just got used to doing that, and that was our routine every time we came to the game.
Was it mad then when you're then a player on that coach and you're driving in and you're seeing the kids
I'm waiting to see John, so I'd ring John the night before. I wave to you when I see you or whatever, so every time I'd sit on the left hand side of the bus, so when I came down I knew where he was, and there he was, and I'd just get the wave. And so that meant a lot to him and me, because he used to take me to some of my training sessions. I mean, he's a staunch Liverpool fan, and he can't get to the game now, but for me, that was such a buzz to give him that buzz as well, to know one of the Liverpool players and to be able to wave at someone who waved back at him. And I knew how much that meant to him. So for me, that's a proud moment in itself, to be able to do something like that. Absolutely
incredible. And the future then, doing a little bit of punditry and stuff, to dipping your toe in there. It's going okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I enjoy it. I enjoy the different side of football, seeing that. I don't look at it as in just commentating on games. I try and learn as I'm going along tactically how teams are setting up, what they're doing in warm-ups and things like that, because ideally I'd love to be a manager in the future. So for me it's a learning process again. When I've gone sort of down the leagues in football as well, I've done it not for a reason I had to as well, but another side is to see what goes on at that level and how budgets work and things like that. So whenever I've been at sort of Wigan, Bradford and things like that, I try and tap into the managers straight away and sort of see what they've got and how they use it and things like that, and why they do certain things. So for me it's a learning curve for hopefully a future career in management.
Absolutely amazing, mate. Well, listen, all the best. Thank you very much for taking the time to take a lap of Anfield with us. And obviously stay tuned, the next great pundit on Sky Sports coming your way, Steve Warnock.